Let's see. Yes, power people. If anybody is joining us right now, I've just connected to YouTube. Jack will be with us probably in about 15 minutes or so, maybe 10. And then we'll get this party rolling. But I hope you can all join us this week. We're going to be talking Stranger Things, Thor Ragnarok, and maybe some other bits of news that have popped up as well. We'll see. We'll see how the evening goes. Hey, what's going on, power people? Hey, what's going on, party people? I am now live on YouTube. We're going to be doing a live podcast tonight, doing a review of Thor Ragnarok and Stranger Things Season 2. So if you follow the link in this Snapchat page, I've never added links to Snapchat before, so we'll see how that goes. and yeah, then you can tune in. Jack's going to be with us in about 10 minutes or so, and then hopefully we'll get this party rolling. So speak to you all soon, hopefully. Bye. Hey, what's going on, party people? I am now live on YouTube. We're going to be doing a live podcast tonight, doing a review of Thor Ragnarok and Stranger Things Season 2. We've got one viewer with us right now. If you want to make yourself known, then by all means do so. But in fact, can I make this link a bit bigger? So we can get the chat in there as well. Oh, there it is. Fabulous. So hopefully we won't have any issues with Skype this week. And yeah, all will be well. Let's see how we get on. Also, as well, I'm probably going to turn the video off at some point as well, just to improve the quality of the connection. So we'll see how all that kind of goes. There we go. That's better. Got the default view now. Hopefully, yeah, I'm really hoping the connection is going to be all right this week. Apparently, we have one viewer at the moment on the YouTube. If you want to make yourself known, then by all means do so. The problem is, there's that many bloody forms of social media that I need to drop this on. Yeah, I sometimes forget which ones I've added to and which ones I haven't. And we've got 2 people apparently watching right now. If you want to make yourself known for a quick shout out, then by all means do say so. Who have we got? Just waiting for Jack at the moment, folks, and then we'll be getting a move on soon, hopefully. Oh, it looks like Jack is online. Let's see if we can give him a call. Let's see how this goes down. No such look at the moment. No answer. Let's try again. Yes, Jack. Hey!
Right.
Good God, that's one hell of a view.
Yeah, just saw that as I walked in the room. I'm just connecting headphones.
Oh, it's all good, man. Whew. You still there, bud? Can you hear me? Yo, hello. Can you hear me, Jack? Huh. It's a bit peculiar. Just nod your head if you can hear me. Right, okay. I can't hear a word you're saying at the moment. Try unplugging your headphones.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. What went wrong there?
Why does it not work with these? Do I have to like? Let me see if I can. Hold on.
Yeah, can you hear me now, bud? Two, test, hello. Whoops. Hello. Jack, can you hear me? Jack, can't hear a word you're saying, pal. Try without the headphones again.
Like that out.
Say again, mate.
Like that works fine.
All right, okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to try turning your video off for a minute because it might actually be a connection problem.
Okay, hold on.
Yo, just say something now, bud.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, bud. I tell you what, mate. Let's just roll with that for now, and we'll see how we do. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, mate. No worries.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Cool.
Coolio. Alrighty then. Well, I say, my man, let's get this show on the motherfucking road.
Sit down.
So,
Going in.
Oh, he's back again.
Yep.
Yep. Right. Let's roll with it. So I'm just going to turn a few of my levels down a little.
Looking. Is your video on as well?
No, I've turned my video off, mate, just for the connection to run a little bit more smoothly.
All right, cool beans, man.
Yeah, so if it does start to break up again, I might have to get you to turn yours off. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I don't understand why when I connect my headphones it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's really peculiar. There might be a bit of a dodgy connection there or something.
Because I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
God knows, man.
Oh, fuck knows. Oh, well, not to worry. We'll see how we get on. Anyway, my sound is coming through okay over this end. So do you want to just give me some obligatory titty sprinkles?
Titty sprinkles.
Oh, you are sounding delicious, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
All right, then. So what I'll do is I'll bring in some intro music and we'll get going.
Let's do this.
Okay, so starting in... What did you drop then?
I didn't drop anything. I was giving myself a drum roll.
Ah, I get you. Okay, so starting in 3, 2, 1. Oh shit. Welcome, power people, once again to another episode of the Open All Powers podcast. My God, it is good to be back. It's been almost a month since our last episode. We have been on a little mini hiatus. So to reassure all the power people out there, we have not died. We're not under a bus somewhere. We haven't got our arm trapped under a giant rock like James Franco in that peculiar movie. None of that kind of rubbish. We've just been hella busy at the moment, but hopefully we will be back on track. My name is Gareth Eastwood, aka the motherfucking Locomotive, and joining me again, filling in the mahoosive shoes of the SMG, the General Mr. Sam Eastwood, it is friend of the show and all-round bloody awesome guy. It's not other than the Wolf of Kingston, Jack Webber.
Hello, how's it going?
Oh man, we're all good.
All right.
We're all good in Oldham over here, mate. What's going on in Kingston at the moment?
Well, I actually just had a really big pizza, so I'm fucking stuffed right now.
Sure.
So I'm pretty good right now. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Just had a big pizza. Just sat down, cracked open a brewski, ready to go.
Good times. Cracking open a cold one with the boys isn't just reserved for Saturday nights.
That's it. So you always got to make time to crack open a cold one.
Absolutely,
always.
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. So, like I say, we have
How
been.
You been, man?
We have been on a.
Have you been?
How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good, actually. Yeah, not bad. I've been working today, which has been just kind of cushy, really. Not horrifically bad, not spectacularly brilliant, but all good, all good. I've just been getting really pumped for this podcast, to be honest, dude. It's been so long since I've actually set up the equipment and done a proper recording like this. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited to talk about movies and TV, all that kind of spiel.
Hey, I'm so excited. When you sent me a message the other day and you were saying what we were going to talk about or what we wanted to talk about, I was like, let's go in on this.
Well, there we go, man. There we go. It's got to be done. And as well, I should also mention that we are actually broadcasting live on YouTube today as well. Now, at the moment, we've got Jack and the Geek Stalk podcast joining us. They've just come in with a message saying, welcome back, guys. So we very much appreciate you joining us. We'll see how the evening progresses and we'll see who else joins us as well on the YouTube chat. But if you are listening live, by the title of the YouTube stream, Thor Ragnarok and Stranger Things Season 2, you can only imagine what we're going to be talking about this week. So if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want us to talk about in regards to these subjects or anything else, or anything you want to say, by all means, fire it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer it and to have a discussion about it. So now there has been a little bit of news kind of floating around at the moment, but we've kind of got two big topics to talk about this week. So ideally, I think we should just crack on with them straight away, and we'll get these reviews going. A little bit of a disclaimer: this is going to be full on spoiler. We're not going to mess about doing spoiler free at the beginning and then go into spoiler like we've done in the past. Just no holds bar. We're gonna spoil the shit out of these two things. As I say, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, man. No holding back whatsoever. We are going in on this.
Definitely, yeah. So if you've not seen,
I've seen some shit. Right?
So if you've not seen either of these properties so far, then I would advise that you don't carry on listening. Come back when you're not going to be too worried about spoilers. So I think we should leave Thor Ragnarok as the finale, Jack, tonight. So I think that we should go with Stranger Things Season 2. Now, you've told me the other day that you've actually managed to watch the second series twice already. Is that right?
Yeah, I absolutely loved Stranger Things, man. Like it was mind blowing. Like I dug the first season, and I don't think they even realized how quickly it was going to blow up. And like it's become this huge franchise now. And like I smashed the second season. It was one of those ones where I didn't want to sort of like do it as quickly as possible because I wanted to really enjoy it. So I sort of like spaced it out as much as I could, and then I finished it, and I was like, "Fuck! I just want." You watched it, pretty much.
Yeah. No, that's it, man.
But yeah, it was incredible. Like, I mean, I watched a bit of it before we actually started broadcasting on here. Just to kind of like refresh my memory even more, but I've already watched it twice, so like.
No, I don't blame you at all, dude. I think my kind of general feelings on it, and in fact, you know, I was gonna shoot back to you actually, because I know you were only just speaking about it briefly there. Tell me kind of a little bit of a scoop on just the series in general, a couple of little highlights that you've enjoyed, and maybe even a few things that you didn't think delivered as well as you maybe hoped.
But overall, I think the character development that they had in this was awesome. Like they introduced like a load of new characters, and it was just it was cool to see like they were keeping sort of like it was exactly the same as the first season, but like the threat was a lot bigger. So like everyone's it's set like a year after the first season, so they're trying to like get back to normality. Everything's trying to sort of like. But obviously there's that looming threat.
Yes.
And I just thought like the characters that came through, like I really fucking liked Dustin
Yes.
Dustin, the curly haired kid, he's so funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, like all the like the kids that are casting it, they're fantastic. They're so talented, and like they all just gel really well in the series. Steve, Nancy's boyfriend Steve, he shone through quite a lot in this season as well. And he almost develops this kind of like bromance thing with Dustin, like he's trying to like talk to him about how to get girls and stuff, and like so it's cool that like there's all those side stories there, but at the same time like the overall like plot just up to 60 so fucking quickly. So
totally.
So there's so many different factors that go into it. Like I also watched after I finished it, Netflix have this sort of like side mini series, and it's just called Beyond Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
And they basically just sit down with all the cast, and they do like just do different like episodes and talk about like, you know, like what their characters sort of like were doing in the show, and like how they developed them, and sort of like how they felt about it and stuff like that. So there's so much that goes into it. But what did you think of it?
I loved it, man. I thought that there was a couple of I did have a couple of issues with it, which I'll delve into a little bit more in a bit, because they are kind of like, they're not complex, but might take a little while to. I imagine it'll create a bit of a discussion. But I think the way they continued it from the previous series was just so good, because there's
a really nice transition.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but they clung on to the characters that we love, like the kids, you know, Dustin and Will, etc. They developed the characters that we know and love further, but also as well slowly kind of introduce these other elements as well, and these new characters too. And there's always a wonderful feeling in the program where it very much stays in the present in terms of what the program is. Like, it's not just episode after episode of world building, but there's always this element of the idea that things could continue to bigger and better things, which I thought was really great.
They've always left the doors open.
Completely, yeah.
Another really good thing about it as well is like because the Duffer brothers who created it and directed it, they go on to say, like, because obviously it's set in like the 80s and stuff, like there's so many like sort of like nostalgic bits for people that were actually sort of like in their prime in the 80s, like walkie-talkies and like retro video and stuff like that. And like, you know, the soundtracks, I fucking love the soundtrack. I literally every episode I watched, I never skipped the intro, so I just love all the synth.
Yeah,
it's just all the synth.
It is very, very cool indeed. Intro music is proper killer. I did enjoy that a lot. I think like you were saying about the kids, you know, their performances are just so good. Like, they're just proper convincing as a group of friends, but also the way that Will plays this idea of just this. He almost seems a lot younger, I think, Will, than the other kids. I know he's pretty much like the same age, but
he gives off a younger vibe.
Yeah, completely. And they really kind of like express his like naivety almost, and his general absolute horror. I thought there was some really kind of freaky, quite scary moments in this as well. Now, I mean, I don't mind a bit of supernatural horror. I actually quite enjoy that sort of thing. But there were a few moments that were kind of a little bit kind of spine tingling. Did you think they kind of amped up the horror a little bit more in this series?
I think like because they released it as well on Halloween, like it pretty much came out like on or around Halloween this year. They really wanted to give it like the whole trick or treat Halloween kind of vibe. And there was even an episode where we went out trick or treating, but like, yeah, they really upped the kind of like supernatural horror game on it, because there were bits of it where I was like, it got super fucking dark. Like, it got so dark. Like, there was it's sort of like middle section of the season where they start burning off all the like upside down vines and stuff like that, and like the companies, whatever it is, the lab guys, they come in and start burning off the tentacles, and then Will just has a full-on like mental breakdown, and just he's on the floor just like burning, and his eyes are like rolling in his head. I'm like, fuck, that shit is gnarly, man.
Yeah, some really kind of quite horrifying moments. Now I think two big characters which were introduced in this series, which I thought really blended well. They didn't feel forced, or they didn't feel like a pimple on a mountain. Like they really integrated themselves into this kind of world, where the character of Billy and his stepsister, half sister, Max, or also referred to as Mad Max on the video games. So obviously the Billy is now played by I believe the actor's called Dacra Montgomery, who also played the Red Ranger in the Power Rangers movie, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't realize it until about halfway through the series, but it's so cool. And he's very much like this long-haired, muscly, proper bad boy stud that rocks up at the school. All the girls really dig him. You know, he's brilliant at all these sports and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, his half-sister, Max, is the same age as the kids, Lucas and Will, Dustin, etc. And she very much kind of sort of, she doesn't like them at first. She's a bit of a loner, but she sort of ends up becoming a part of their friendship, part of their friendship group. So like, what did you think of like the addition of those new characters? Did you think they kind of, as I did, they blended well with the existing world that had been created?
I think they gelled really well, man. Yeah, and I think they were added like such good additions as well, because in the first season, it's all like Steve's like the top dog and he's like the man of the school.
Yes.
And they bring in this new character, Billy, and he rocks up in the Camaro. And it's just, I dig how we've got a Camaro as well. And he just rocks up. Max, and she just like to Scorpion like a hurricane, and I was like, yeah, I fucking love this song. And he just gets out of the car. And it's like, right, there's a new cool cat in town sort of thing.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah, no, Max is this like, I don't give a shit. They both have this I don't give a shit mentality, but like you said, yeah, because she's the same age as like Will and Lucas and Dustin and Mike. She goes to the arcade, and like she starts to sort of gel with their friendship group. But yeah, Billy coming in as like the main sort of like bad boy of the show. Like, I think he fit in really well. I actually kind of wanted to see more of Billy, to be honest, because like it creased me up. I've got to mention it is when he's out looking for Max, because she's gone running off with the boys, and he turns up at Mike's house, and that whole scene was fucking brilliant.
Oh, with like, Mike's mom, yeah.
He rings the doorbell, and she answers it, and it's just so over-sexualized. And it's like, right, next scene, they're gonna bang. They're gonna bump uglies. That's gonna happen. It's just because he's on the doorstep, and he's just like, hey, he's like biting that biscuit, and he's like, hey, I always drive. And it's just like, oh my god, mate. She's reading like the erotic novel in the bath as well, and it's just like that needs to happen, because that would be hilarious.
It was proper funny, and I love just how cliche Billy was as well. Like the scene where he's like working out and he's lifting weights whilst just like puffing on a fag. Like it was so funny, right? Just proper gimmicky, and he's like listening to like the kind of cock rock metal. So good.
It's just all.
Say that again, mate.
I was just saying, no, it's just all the cheese. Like, it's just like smoking cigarettes and lifting weights to cock rock. It's just like, fucking hell. So
good. And I think as well, what was great about what they did with his character is he comes across really macho, really like, oh, I'm the cock of the school kind of thing. And then they show his home life, and they reveal this notion where his father is actually quite abusive towards him, and very kind of like, you will respect me and you will respect my authority. And there's this idea that he is actually slightly afraid of his dad. So there's real potential for his character to develop in that way. Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, there was, keeping on the theme of Billy as well, there was something as well which kind of struck me a little bit in the series, and it was this idea that whenever he saw Max with Lucas, he really went off the rails, and he was like, "What? Who was that you were talking to? Stay away from him." And there was all this kind of thing, this idea of, you know, stay away from people like that. And he actually almost threatens him as well at one point. And it was only ever Lucas that he was kind of focusing on.
Grabs him, holds him up against the wall. It's like, fuck, dude.
Exactly.
Like you're holding like a little kid up against the wall. We really didn't like him.
Really didn't like him. Now, I Googled this a little bit to kind of look at some of the forums where people were discussing this kind of thing, because my initial reaction was it was a race thing. My thought was,
really?
My initial thought,
didn't think about that,
is that he was basic. And then when you suddenly realize he's got this incredibly sort of, well, this father who is quite abusive and could potentially be almost quite sort of right wing in a way, whether that influence had rubbed off on his son. Now, apparently in an interview with Dacre Montgomery, he was challenged with this notion, and he said, "Oh no, it's nothing to do with race." Like he said, and he was saying more like the idea is that it just happens to be the kid that Max is hanging out with, and because he wants to punish her and because he wants to basically make her miserable, then anybody who she becomes closely attached to, it's like, no, stay away from that person. I think that was the kind of the idea that he was presenting in a way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, because like Lucas is obviously the one that sort of like he likes Max, and sort of like has got a thing for her. So Billy sort of sees that, because every time Billy picks her up from the arcade, or like you know, he ends up knocking on her door. But like every time like they sort of leave school and stuff, Lucas is always there. So he's like, "Who the fuck's that?"
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know,
yeah,
someone I should know about, sort of thing. Which is interesting, because it's almost like it's like a really passive aggressive way of being like, I'm your stepbrother, I'm your big brother, I'm looking out for you. He's this bloke, but at the same time he's like, "Who the fuck is that?" Like,
yeah, and I think
there's a really there's a like, I really like the whole like love triangle thing between like Dustin and Max and Lucas, because when I was watching Beyond Stranger Things, the three of them were actually talking about this. And there's, because like the Duffer Brothers, like they're not necessarily Easter eggs, but they've put like a load of stuff in there which I didn't actually notice until I watched it the second time round. And one of the things they spoke about was in the first episode, when they go to the arcade, they're playing Dragon's Lair,
right?
One of the arcade games, and Dustin's playing the game, and the whole point of the game is to like rescue and win over Princess Diana, I think her name's called. And then Dustin actually loses the game, and they say in Beyond Strange Things, it was like the whole point of that was because then afterwards Lucas goes, "Oh yeah, she's still mine. She's still, you know, I'm still top of the leaderboard," sort of thing. Like Princess Diana's still mine.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That's a nice little reference, that for sure.
Yeah, there's like a nice little dig at like what's going on later on the show.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
It's quite.
Well, let's moving on from that. Let's talk about another new character that was introduced as well. And this was the character of Bob, played by Sean Astin, I think the actor is called, who I know from playing, of course, Samwise Gamgee in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah. Now, he was basically brought into it as Winona Ryder's new love interest. And you know, they've kind of got like this blossoming relationship. They're in like the kind of the honeymoon phase, that kind of thing. And of course he ends up getting enveloped into all of this drama, and then of course he ends up meeting his demise towards the end as well. So what did you think of this new character introduction as well, Jack?
I love Bob. Bob's wicked. He's one of my favorite characters. Like when he first got introduced and he goes into the shop and he's just like, "Hey, do you have any of these pumpkin baskets in a green?" And they just end up like getting off of each other in the store cupboard. I was just like, yeah, this guy's cool. He's nailing it. But like, he's come in as like this new guy, and he's like trying to be like almost like a father figure to Will and Jonathan. But like, he's such a likable character because he just plays this like geeky, you know, not necessarily clued up, lovable guy. And like he's got so many wicked one-liners. Like he's so oblivious to everything, but like when he sort of walks in the room and they're talking about Bowie and Kenny Rogers, and he walks in, he's like, I love Kenny Rogers. Like, woo! It's just like stuff like that. It's so good. And what was it like? Yeah, he's just got all the one-liners where he drops them off and he's like, I hope it doesn't suck. That sort of stuff. But yeah, no, he's come in and just become one of the most likable characters, I'd say. And then yeah, like you said, he meets his demise in the end, which really pissed me off because he basically, like, he was running away from all the demodogs, and he gets through the door, and like he just stops, turns around, and just stares at Joyce, and they're just looking at each other for God knows how long. And it's like, you wouldn't fucking do that, you'd run. Like they're bashing the door in. You got all these like demodogs bashing the door in, and he just turns around and he's just like, hey, you're right. And then obviously they just come out and just chew his face off. Like, yeah. What were you going to expect? Like, they had to kill someone off. You know, they had to do it at some point.
Completely honest, and I'm going to completely contradict everything that you've just said because I really didn't like Bob at all. I was just like, I was expecting you to be completely on my side as well then, and be like, oh god, what a complete wasted character. Like, thing is, I just thought, I just thought he was a complete and utter salad. He was such a lettuce. I mean, I know that was the character he was meant to be playing. He was a bit of a wimp, and he was a bit naive to all this kind of stuff, and a kind of a stark opposite to Hopper, who of course was like quite, you know, macho and quite independent. And yeah, when he met his demise, I was actually quite relieved, to be fair, because the thing is as well, one of my biggest issues with this program is the way Winona Ryder plays her character. I find her, and now in the first series, one of the biggest issues I had was Winona Ryder's constant bloody moaning. Now, yes, granted, she's playing the character of a mother who's lost her son. Her son has gone missing and he's potentially dead. And then, of course, you know, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, of course, he ends up in this, you know, parallel dimension. So that makes her even more concerned. But she's just so whiny and just so over the top all the time, and she kind of carried on that character trait a bit through this as well. She's just cautious about everything. So I think when they brought Bob into it, just, I don't know, I think they both kind of sort of mirrored each other's sort of wimpiness in a way, and that kind of irritated me.
I'll tell you what though, it's kind of like you're moany, you're irritating, and when they clash together, yeah, I can see what you mean. Like when you put it like that. But like if you think about it, for Bob, like there was this thing that was saying like Bob is the whole reason why shit went downhill, because he's driving Will to school, and he tells him to stop, turn around, when he has his like shadow monster vision. He turns around to Will and he's like, just turn around, tell it to go away.
Holy shit, yeah.
And he's like, just tell him to go away. And because Bob tells him to do that, the next time he has his flashback, Will turns, or whatever it is, goes into the upside down. Will turns around and just goes, go away. And then he has all this black smoke just fucking attacks his face. So like, there was this big thing that was like, it's like a fan theory or whatnot that was shot down, but it was like, oh, the whole, it's Bob's fault and Bob's evil.
Oh yeah, maybe Bob's been like sent from the upside down. Maybe he's been possessed as well. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what that was one thing people say. It got shot down. Obviously, it wasn't because Bob's too dumb for that kind of thing. But
sure.
Yeah, he essentially just tells Will to tell it to go away, and then it doesn't go away.
Yeah, then it ends up possessing him, of course. Yeah. Well,
I think it's very healthy for us to have differences on these characters, Gaz. So.
Oh, absolutely, my man, absolutely. Yeah, if opposites attract and all that kind of thing, like Bob and fucking Winona Ryder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Samwise Gamgee.
now let's talk about one thing that I had a massive issue with, and I've heard a lot of people make this comment as well in regards to this series, and of course is the episode where 11 tracks down her sort of test tube sister almost.
Yeah.
Because we get that reference at the very start of the very first episode where we see this kind of robbery going on, and there's a young girl in a part of this kind of crew who are all kind of a bit punk rock looking, and she uses this kind of like ability with her mind which kind of creates illusions in a way, and then of course her nose starts bleeding, so and then we see a tattoo on her wrist as well of a number, so we instantly realize that she's obviously come from the same laboratory that 11 did as well. So 11 tracks her down, and she ends up becoming immersed into this group. She has a bit of a makeover herself as well. And this episode, I understood it to a degree because I think that they needed to give 11 a little bit of a story arc rather than her just being a little bit of a kind of a hidden recluse in this series. However, it just kind of took me out of the rest of the main storyline. It just felt a little bit forced and a little bit too gimmicky. How did you feel about this episode overall?
I completely agree with you on this one. Like, I understand what they wanted to do, and she wanted her own storyline. That was cool. Like, but I think it did seem a little bit forced because she went and met her mum, and that was cool. And like she, you know, met her mum and spoke to her. But then like they kind of dragged it on even more. And she had one episode where she went up to was it Pittsburgh, I think it was, and she goes and ends up in this punk gang with her sister. And like I know loads of people as well have been like saying Strange Things 2 is really good, but episode 7 was like, and like people didn't feel a need for that to be there. And I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't one of my favorite episodes, to be honest. Like I really like the chick that plays her sister.
Yeah, she was good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she was really cool, but it did seem a little bit forced. Yeah. So, but at the same time, it did there was a really big bit which people forget about, which is when they go after the guy that probed got 11's mum.
Yeah,
they go after him, and they sort of break into his house and stuff. He turns around to them and he's like, "Your dad is still alive. I can take you to him." And then she's like, "You're lying." No, he is actually alive. So maybe I can't remember what his name is, but maybe her dad, the sort of like lead scientist, he'll come back in like season 3 somehow.
Yeah, that's a big potential. I'd say. I think you're probably spot on there. That's something that they'll delve into as well. And then now that kind of leads me on to something else as well. The big kind of deal they brought into this was the idea that 11 was kind of lost out in the woods, and she's found by Hopper, and Hopper basically takes her in, kind of, creates this home for her to basically hide her from all of these people who would want to track her down, if you will. So there was very much this kind of father daughter relationship, which I suppose had this kind of really nice kind of parallel with the fact that Will is kind of like falling in love with 11, and of course his mum is the ex-partner of Hopper. So there was that a really nice kind of parallel, I think, there. So I thought that it was superb, the relationship between 11 and Hopper. Did you feel that it works? Do you think that did you buy this relationship that they built together?
Yeah, I mean, like I did really like it because it was like it pretty much was like in certain times it was like two different powers colliding with each other. It was like power versus power, but like she's obviously got supernatural authoritative power.
Yeah,
and it was really cool to see them in because it's such a secluded area as well. So like the majority of when he's out doing police stuff, all she's doing is eating Eggos and watching fucking TV. And I do like the way she changes TV channels though, and she's just like,
yeah.
like I wish I could do that. Save so much time. But yeah, no, like when she's on her own, that's literally all she's doing. So like when they're both in scenes together, like he's I love the scene where like she has like the tantrum,
Yeah.
and she's just having like the psychokinetic tantrum, and she's just flinging doors left, right, and center, and blowing out windows and shit. And like he's just, you know, she like throws stuff at him, and he just kicks a table, and like they, you know, like it's such a tense moment for the pair of them. But it's also like because his daughter died, I believe, like it was mentioned in like the first season. So like he's obviously he sees her as more like a daughter now. So he wants to like, because she's not clued up on the world and she doesn't really know what's what yet. He's teaching her, you know, and like wants to father her. So he's doing that, but at the same time, she's being a bit of a bitch about it. So
yeah, definitely. And I suppose like what she needs, I suppose, is that kind of authority in her life, because she's grown up in a bloody like a lab rat, you know, but she needs to have that actual fatherly relationship, you know, because obviously a father-daughter relationship is incredibly important, and you know he's actually bringing her up to understand the world and to understand respect and things like that. So that was absolutely brilliant. Now we've passed the half an hour mark, Jack. So what I think we'll do is
this is where it begins.
I know, man. This is it. So I think we'll start to wrap up the Stranger Things conversation. But one thing I just want to finish on really quickly is the end. We got the very, very cliche sort of high school dance, you know, at the school where they all turn up in the tuxedos and that, you know, I just absolutely, one thing I absolutely loved about this scene was the bit where Dustin, previously, Dustin and Steve had like this moment in the car, which you kind of mentioned before. Excuse me. And Dustin is talking to Steve about like how he does his hair and stuff like that. So come the end, Dustin is like, he's spraying this stuff on his hair to make himself look like him, and then you hear his mum shout, "Oh, your ride's here!" And I just assume it's going to be one of the parents of Mike or or Lucas or whatever, and it's Steve, and he's come to pick him up to give him like a final little pep talk. And I thought that was a really nice little sort of nod of a potential kind of relationship we could dive into in the future.
It's a bromance, man. Like they're when they're walking, they actually, the bit where they're walking along the tracks and they're putting out all the meat to catch Dart, Dart the demigod. They actually do that on purpose because it's supposed to be a reference to Stand By Me.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and they're having the bromance, and when he's just like, he tells him what hair product he uses, and he's like, "If you tell anybody, I'll kick your little ass." And so it's cool that like he takes him to the prom, because it's like, they actually have a pretty like sick relationship and stuff, like really good friendship.
That is really nice, yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. I actually really fucking felt for Dustin in that scene, because he was that guy at school. We had school discos, and I was the most uninteresting person ever, super unpopular, and like dance. And I think I was like being really cool, and like everyone's just like, "Nerd." Oh man, I'm just gonna stand by the punch bowl. Like, it's cool.
Yep, I'm with you there, my man. I was pretty much the same. Yeah, no, I think everybody.
I don't need no chicks. Chill.
Yeah, I think everybody can relate to that sort of moment. So we got this sequence where Lucas and Max, they go and have a dance. A girl comes up to Will and says like, "Oh, hey, zombie boy, do you want to dance?" You know, so they go off, and then Dustin thinks he's being like really suave, and he's getting knocked down, and it ends up, is it Nancy? Nancy, yeah, she goes up to him and like asks him for a dance, which I thought was a really, really sweet moment. And then of course we get 11 turns up, and she's looking all glam, and you know, and her and Mike have a little moment. So that moment, for the very kind of high school cliche moment of a movie, it was a nice way of it was a really nice way of finishing it off, I felt.
Yeah, it was really cool. Also, did you notice as well? So like, when that whole scene finished, the last song that they play, and like they play "I'll Be Watching You" or "Every Breath You Take" by the Police. And like I don't know if you clocked onto this, but like when it zooms out of the school and it's "Every Breath You Take, I'll Be Watching You," when it flips upside down and the shadow monster's still there. And that's they play that song on purpose, and that actually gave me goosebumps because it was like, "I'll be watching you," and then it's just bang, fucking giant shadow monster. I was just like, "Whoa,
that's cool, man. That's really, I wouldn't even never have thought of that. That's a really cool little touch." So just, I mean,
they put that in there just for that bit.
I suppose one last thing as well, it just kind of dawned on me as well that I suppose in the previous series, Will was barely in it because of the fact that he was in the Upside Down. So we got more of a presence in this series, and he was, I suppose, most of the time being incapacitated by the shadow monster, which was taking over him.
Yeah. Oh man, I bet that kid that plays Will was like super chuffed this season because he pretty much like the first season, so he's got so much more screen time.
Exactly. I mean, I think to a degree he kind of got a little bit overshadowed by some of the other kids just because I think they've got a little bit more charisma. So I'm hoping kind of in the next series he's kind of free of the whole kind of upside down sort of thing, and maybe he'll be he'll have a bit more confidence and maybe be a bit more of a I don't know, a tangible character.
Rather than being used as like a plot device for the upside down, like he can sort of like shine through and become his own character. Yeah,
definitely, yeah. And I suppose one last thing as well, which I did have a little bit of an issue with. Obviously, in the first series, the Demogorgon, and that was it. That was like this big beastly character, and gunfire wouldn't take it down. Obviously, if Stephen is bat with nails in it could bash it, but it was like this undefeatable, unmovable object. Whereas the demi-dogs in this almost kind of came across as like just a disposable army, just that were just there to kind of create a bit of
super Resident Evil as well.
That's a point, actually. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just gonna jump over to YouTube real quick because I should have said before that we've got Alex Poole who's joined us on the group chat. Jack and the Geek Stock have said the Lost Sister episode was complete balls, so very much mirroring what we were saying there. And then Joey DiCarlo, our boy from the So Wizard podcast, has said Steve is the real MVP. If anybody knows what MVP means, answers on a postcard, send those over to Open Powers.
I can't remember what it stands for, but it sounds cool, so we'll roll with that.
I don't know, like much person. I don't know. I really don't know what that means.
Very person.
Yeah.
Many violent.
Something like that, yeah, exactly. So I'll tell you what, we did. My brother Sam, aka the SMG, the General Mr. Sam Eastwood, sent over a little mini review that he wrote and he texted me before. So whilst I'm just loading that up, Jack, do you want to give me just an overall rating, if you want, of the series and a few final thoughts, if you'd like, as well?
Overall, I'll probably go with like. Even though it had like a few faults here and there, and like, there were bits that could have been better, like episode 7. I would probably go for like a 10 out of 10. In all honesty, like I wouldn't have. It's very rare that I'll watch a TV series on Netflix twice in a row because I like it that much. But like the whole 80s feel, they absolutely nailed it. Like the new characters that came in, it wasn't like they were disposable. They really added to the plot and the story and like enveloped on it a lot more. Like I love all the characters. One of my favorites is actually I love Dustin, emo Mike. What up? He's just a little brat. He's just like he's just so moody all the time. But like he eventually realizes he needs to help somebody again. Going back to like character development, and he's like, "Fuck, I need to help my friend Will now." All the characters, all of them were just incredible. The storyline was sick, and I cannot wait until I see the next season. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll read this off Sam and then I'll come in with a few final thoughts of myself. So Sam's come in, he said, with the exception of one random standalone episode, this season was excellent for me. More 80s nostalgia and a welcome return of some of the best actors and child actors I have ever seen. I like the inclusion of more chilling elements, the return of the Upside Down, the Demodog, and Will's quote-unquote possession by the Shadow Monster. What was obvious to see was the 80s movies referencing Stranger Things 2, Ghostbusters, Gremlins, The Goonies, and many others.
Yeah.
I like the character developments, especially Steve and his chemistry with the kids, having grown from local bully to someone you genuinely care about. I felt Max was an interesting character, but merely used as a replacement for Eleven, and I hope that her and Billy's character stories are developed more in season 3, as I felt their backstory was brushed aside a little. The episode where Eleven meets her sister, quote unquote, was a disappointment for me, but I think it will lead into something more in season 3 and the search for the Doctor, who Eleven calls Papa. Wasn't sure about Bob at first, but came to love the character and was happy there wasn't too much of Winona Ryder's weird, quote-unquote, reaction face. Standout performance was Hopper again for this series. Overall, I enjoyed this series. A bit set apart from the first. The bit that set apart it from the first was that it didn't grip me as much. I binged the first series in one day. This series, I was happy to spread it over a few days. So I think Sam's pretty much mirrored a hell of a lot of what we've said there.
Yeah,
just making a reference there to what he said about how he didn't binge it. I kind of binged the first series. I suppose I watched it in about 3 days maybe, and this one I kind of took my time as well. I think with the first series, I would argue that there was a lot of intrigue because realistically, in terms of a TV show, let alone a Netflix show, like I've never seen anything like this before. So I think that was what was gripping about it. Whereas with this one, because we kind of knew what we're expecting, I was also kind of happy to take my time, and I suppose there was less intrigue because it wasn't all entirely fresh, if that makes sense.
I mean, like it was a completely new concept that like hadn't really been done before, and everyone knew that the second season was coming. Like I remember when they dropped the first trailer and they had that really eerie, like Vincent Price thriller narration over the top of it, and like they built up so much hype around it that when it came out, I think like people were just like instantly going to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, no, like we knew what to expect and we knew it was coming, but like, yeah, they just generated so much hype that like you say, like the first season, you really just didn't know what to expect, sort of thing. So
without a doubt, man. Yeah. So I'll just kind of sum up a few thoughts as well. Obviously, just kind of wrapping things up, I enjoyed the series so much. The inclusion of the new characters, and especially Billy and Max, really, really worked well for me. The standout performance, I would argue as well, as I'd mirror what Sam said there and say that Hopper was great as well as Dustin. The overall kind of arc, which I enjoyed, was the relationship between Hopper and Eleven. I thought that was really fantastic. Albeit, yes, a few kind of minor letdowns. The forced episode where Eleven meets her sister again, referencing what we've already said, and Sam there in that quick review. I think, although I would still give this series a strong 8 out of 10 overall. And to be honest with you, I potentially would say that I might have even enjoyed this series a bit more than the first series, despite those kind of little faults. But anyway, we've spoken about Stranger Things, I think, enough now, and we'll definitely move on to our next subject. I think a quick break might be in order, if that's all right, Jack, to just grab a quick refreshment, and then we shall continue on.
All right, mate. Yeah, I'll see you in 5.
All right, cool. So anybody listening on YouTube, we'll be back in 5 minutes, and yeah, do whatever you need to do. Toodaloo.
See you in 5. Woo.
Oh, excuse me.
No, I'm all right, thanks.
Alrighty, power people, I have returned. I'll just wait for Jack to emerge. Just got myself a little brew.
Hello.
Hey, Jackie boy.
Yeah, you right?
Yeah, good man, good. What did you get yourself?
I got these like rip-off Kronenberg cans in Audi today.
Nice.
So yeah, it's called like Brasserie 1897.
Oh,
It's all right.
excellent.
More of your easygoing lager, you know. I'm not a bartender today, so I'm not going to talk too much about beer. I'm going to talk about that.
Oh, you do what you need to do, man. It makes no odds to me.
I live above the pub as well. I just went downstairs and my manager was like, "So how's it going?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's going good. Just go on YouTube and watch." She's like, all right, I'll do that now. So with any luck, she joins us in a bit.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, man.
All right, then let's continue onwards. So I'll count us in, and then I'll just do a little mini intro again.
Sweet as, man. Let's do it.
All right, then. So starting back in 3, 2, 1. Yes, power people, and we have returned from our break. We are now done with Stranger Things season 2. We're going to jump into our other big topic of the week, and that is Thor Ragnarok. Now, myself and Jack have both seen the movie. We're going to again stress this highly that we're going in on spoiler review, completely and utterly spoilerific. We're not holding back on any aspect of this movie, cameos, post-credit sequences, twists at the end, all that kind of guff. So let's jump right into it. Jack, first of all, did you see this movie in 3D?
Yeah, we did. So I went with Greg from the All Seeing Guys podcast. Shout out to those guys. And Greg and I have pretty much seen, I think I've mentioned this before, seen pretty much near enough all of the fucking Marvel movies under the roster. His lovely wife Lizzie gave us a gift card, and we ended up getting it in IMAX 3D, which was so fucking worth it. Like that movie, like the 3D was so quality, and like you could just tell this movie was like made to be IMAX 3D. So yeah,
amazing, dude, amazing. Well, that was going to be like my my next question, because I saw this in 2D, so obviously, you know, I didn't get like the full effect. But if it was worth it, then you know, I think it comes off quite well, because where a lot of these movies, you know, they filmed and then they kind of turn into 3D afterwards. And I know sometimes it can spoil it, sometimes it can enhance it. So no, it's good to hear that. Good to hear that it came off pretty well. But anyway, tell me some initial thoughts in regards to this movie, what you thought about it, your kind of expectations going in, and yeah, just kind of a few initial thoughts.
All right. Well, when I first like heard they were doing this movie and they were filming and whatnot, my expectations are basically that. Like I was so stoked that they were going to go with a kind of rough Planet Hulk storyline as well, because I've read the comic and I love the comic Planet Hulk. So and I was really interested to like see how Thor and Hulk were going to like work together, and like how you're going to take two characters that kind of had like a bit of a backseat, like during like Avengers Assemble, like Civil War stuff like that. You know, like Thor and Hulk weren't even in Civil War. But like two characters that kind of took a bit of a backseat as far as like Marvel movies go, to see both come together. But yeah, I was absolutely blown away by this film. They definitely went with the Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, not just because it was in space, but just like in general, it was just like really bright, zazzy. The costume design was sick, like the art, like just everything about it just screamed like Guardians of the Galaxy retro. And it was so fucking funny as well. Like
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy was like probably the first. It was probably the first Marvel movie that really was like, okay, we're gonna be stupid and like crack some, you know, one-off jokes and stuff like that. But it was so funny, and like it was probably one of my favorite storylines from all of the Marvel films, because it flows so well. Like the entire storyline just works like brilliantly. And you know, when you got people like Jeff Goldblum in it as well, like they actually gave Jeff Goldblum enough space to be Jeff Goldblum,
Yeah.
and he was wicked. So,
Yeah, without a doubt, dude, without a doubt. I've got to mirror exactly what you said there about the humor. What I thought was really great about this is in the trailers for this film, we saw a few jokes. There was a little bit of humor between Thor and Hulk. We saw the camaraderie between Thor and Loki, which of course we've seen in movies gone by, so we know what kind of a relationship to expect between them two. Between those two, but the rest of the humor in this film, it just landed so well. I mean, I was so hysterical. I was proper laughing out loud. The cinema that I was in as well, there was a fair few people in there as well. There was a lot of laughs in there as well. I
remember when you were saying like about Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and like you and Sam were just like, and totally understand like what you were saying as well. Like it was just like ha, 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 like every 5 minutes, and like all the jokes were like super forced. Whereas this was like the complete opposite.
The humor just works so well. And I mean, let's just talk about this ensemble cast. I mean, for Christ's sake, we've got Chris Hemsworth, we've got Tom Hiddleston, Kate Blanchett, Idris Elba, Jeff Goldblum, Tessa Thompson, Carl Urban, Mark Ruffalo, Anthony Hopkins, Benedict Cumberbatch. This cast is absolutely, I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute. This cast is absolutely insane. I mean, I just think it's such a wonderful testament to how far these kind of movies have become and how much people have come to respect them. But also, I think a case of the fact that, I mean, Jeff Goldblum, for example, I mean, all of his takes, I mean, most of the time he's bloody sat down. He basically got to turn up. He got put in some gnarly makeup, make a few Jeff Goldblumium sort of quips, and basically go home in time for tea. Like, this was probably one of his easiest jobs he's ever done. But you can tell that he had a proper fun doing it. You know, Kate Blanchett got the opportunity to play this absolutely badass, like, you know, over the top kind of sinister, sexy villain. And you know, like, you can tell that they're having so much fun, but as well, you know, they're really putting so much into the performances. Was there a standout performance for you throughout this movie, Jack, who you just, you know, hold in sort of high regard?
I love all the characters. Obviously, like, I actually loved Thor in it. Thor was so good. The opening scene where I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and like when that opening fight scene was sick, and like when he's whipping the hammer around, he's like and just taking them all out, and like kind of like similar to like Spider-Man Homecoming, where you see the Vulture like bang straight away. Like, he's not the main villain, but you see like Sutter straight away, and Thor's just like instantly like holds. He's like, I'm gonna break out of these chains. I'm gonna take your helmet or skull, whatever, back to Asgard. Everything will be hunky dory. And then he like whips his arm out, and there's this really weird, like, uncomfortable moment, and then he's just like timed that very well, and like just smack straight into Immigrant Song, and it's like boom, 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 boom. I was just like, yeah. And he's just hammer around, taking out all of these bloody but like Thor stood out for me, but also at the same time Korg.
Yes.
Almost like the leader of the was it the Resistance, the Revolution, where it is?
The Resistance.
But that's it. And he's actually based on one of the Planet Hulk characters.
Oh, really?
But like, it's just he's in the arena with the Hulk in the Planet Hulk comics.
Oh, cool.
But I absolutely creased up where he meets he meets Thor, and he's like because he's voiced by he's voiced and CGI'd by the director from Ragnarok as well.
Oh, is he really?
I think is it Takai
Takai
Waititi or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
Waititi, yeah.
Yeah. He actually voices Korg. But it's just funny where he's just like, hello there, mate. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what he says now. And he's like, I'm Korg. I'm kind of like the leader around here. As you can see, I'm made of rocks. He's like, but don't let that intimidate you unless you made of scissors. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke for you. It's just like the way he said it. I was just like, oh, that's brilliant. Thought just like, whatever, mate.
Yeah, that was very, very cool indeed. Well, I mean,
he was a lot of comedy relief for me.
Well, let's go back to that opening scene a second, because that is quite poignant, really, because it opens up with Thor kind of doing a little bit of a voiceover, talking about the fact that he's been traveling the galaxy, you know, trying to seek out the Infinity Stones. So, of course, it takes us back to Avengers Age of Afternoon of Ultron, which just seems like a lifetime ago now. Oh yeah, there was no Age of Ultron. He was there for about a day and a half. That was it. Yeah, so and he's basically in this cage, and he's trapped he's locked up in chains and whatnot. And as you said, you know, Surtur, this sort of big demon-like sort of godlike creature, all, you know, fire and brimstone, and that has basically captured him. And he's making this reference about the fact that if he puts his helmet in the fire of such and such a thing at Asgard, then he basically will become the what? Sorry, mate.
I think it's called the Eternal Flame.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And so basically, you know, he will become almighty. So Thor's like, no, not in this reality, you know. So, you know, that was, and I agree. Like when the big Led Zeppelin song like busted in, that was so cool. There was loads of energy, just a great way to kind of open the series. Open the movie.
Yeah.
And this kind of leads on to another great moment as well, which there was this great scene with three massive cameos in this moment, which I just thought was absolutely superb. And basically we go to Asgard, and who you assume to be Odin, who we actually were to reveal is basically Loki in disguise. He's watching this theatre production that portrays the demise of Loki, which is just absolutely fantastic. The cameos in this moment are we've got Sam Neill playing Odin, we've got Matt Damon playing Loki, and then we've got Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah, obviously. Sam Neill.
That was Sam Neill, yeah, man.
No, I was watching. You know, I'm so shit with stuff like that because I was watching it. I knew it was a cameo bit, right? I remember saying to Greg afterwards, I was.
Of a joke, really. Yeah, really cool little moment. And then, of course, speaking of cameos as well, of course, we see Benedict Cumberbatch as well return as Doctor Strange. Like, did you see that coming? Were you expecting it in any way?
I forgot because it's at the end of it was at the end of Doctor Strange, wasn't it? And
yes,
he goes and visits Thor and feels like I need to get him over here, man. Like, that's incredible. It's just his beard just keeps filling up. Besides the point, but I totally forgot that he was going to be in it. And then it's as soon as I saw the Doctor Strange sparkler ring, I was just like, and it was going around Loki. And he's like, that's not me doing that. I was like, oh, here we go, strap in, kids. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, that whole bit was brilliant. I thought it was so funny. What did you think of it?
I loved it, man. It was so good. Like the bit where you just see his you just see his silhouette like in the window, and he just hovers down with the cloak, and then of course
so good.
but it was a nice.
I liked it when he was just taking him around the because also like in Doctor Strange he starts off like really cocky,
yeah,
and then when he starts sort of like studying the mystic arts and whatnot and becoming Doctor Strange, he gets a bit more refined and like a bit more like sensible. And then in this, you could just tell like he'd been doing it for a while. In this, he was kind of just like I'm going to be really cocky and I'm going to show off a little bit and go back to my old ways in this little segment. But at the same time, I am Doctor Strange. And just when he was like morphing, like or like just script like flick by flick, just morphing Thor to different parts of the sanctorum where he works, I guess. And Thor's just like bumping into bookshelves and like knocking over his beer. He's like, "Can you stop doing that?" Like,
yeah.
I just love that bit.
That was great. I mean, that's the thing. It was good to see Thor kind of very much out of his comfort zone. Like usually Thor is like the sort of the brooding kind of dominant character who isn't scared of anything or isn't, put out by anything. And it was quite good to see him. Just very like, what the hell is going on? I don't know how to deal with this sort of thing. But then the bit at the end where he summons his hammer and you just hear it breaking through all of like the glass cabinets and all that kind of shit. That was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think they nailed that sort of stuff because like obviously Hela breaks it a bit later on. Yeah, they want to get as much of his. What's the hammer called again? Like Mjolnir or something like that. Something like that.
Hang on a minute. What were you after again? Sorry, Hela's character name.
Hela breaks the hammer, but I was just saying, what's the hammer called again? It's like Mjolnir or something.
Mjolnir or something. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that was really funny. He sort of like holds his arm up and destroying his house.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
So they really comical.
And then of course they dealt with the death of Odin as well. Anthony Hopkins' character. So they go with this storyline that Loki basically sort of banished Odin to Earth, and then we find out that it's only his kind of life force that's keeping Hela imprisoned, who is Loki and Thor's sister. The god of death, essentially, and then she sort of emerges. Now, this is quite an interesting moment because in the trailers they showed Thor's hammer being destroyed on Asgard, whereas in this case it was like on the coast of somewhere. I think it was like in the UK or something like that. I'm not entirely sure where the hell it was meant to be.
No.
Yeah. So he's still there, Jack? You broke up a little bit then.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you able to turn your your webcam off, mate, just to try and clear up the connection a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. It just broke up a little bit. But yeah, so
right, no worries.
We see the Hela kind of emerges and she's sassy and she's got a lot of attitude to her, and I just thought that her makeup alone was really cool. I loved her character style and the way she kind of like ran her hands through her hair and then like all these big kind of spiky sort of things came out of her head.
Yeah, she liked to stroke her head quite a lot.
She did, yeah, she did. So what did you think? What did you think of Hela like overall as a villain?
Yeah, she was really cool. Like really dark character as well. Like Kate Blanchett, she wears that costume exceedingly well. It doesn't really leave much to the imagination, but she's like as a villain, just like when she says when she first meets him and she's like, kneel, and they're like, what? We won't kneel. I'll never kneel to you, sort of thing. And she's like, did you not just hear what I said? And like, it's all very like like most of the comedy in it is very slapdash anyway. It's like in a good way, but like she's just like, did you not just hear what I said? Like, I'm the goddess of death. Like, and And like even when she turns up at Asgard and she's like, she literally sees like everybody with those spikes, and she's like, oh, I've missed this. And like as a villain, I like how she has got a very like dry sense of humor, but like she's got an ultimate goal at the end of the day, and she wants to rule Asgard. But like staying true to her character, like she's the goddess of death, so it's like she literally doesn't care if it's only her on Asgard and everyone else is dead.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
As long as like it's kind of weird. Like she wants to rule Asgard. She wants to come back, claim her like rightful place, but at the same time, she's like, yeah, I'm the fucking goddess of death, bitch. Like, I don't care if I'm the only person on this floating island. Like,
yeah.
So, you know.
You see, now,
overall,
I thought she was good. I thought that she played the character very well. My only issue is the fact that now, of course, we're led to believe that Hela is the arrival, is associated with Ragnarok, essentially. You know, like she is the impending doom of Asgard. She is the Norse mythology kind of equivalent of the apocalypse, if you will. Now, of course, we find out towards the end that it's actually Surtur who is the real kind of notion of the apocalypse, of Ragnarok. But in the meantime, we're meant to believe that Hela is this notion. And I kind of just, I understood her as a baddie, but I still never really kind of got this idea that, you know, she was an almighty supreme villain who just reigned all this terror. Everything was just a little bit too chilled for me, I think, when it came to like everything going on in Asgard. You know what I mean? It was just all a little bit. And then she kind of just sort of cleaned out this fucking army of Asgardians or whatever with all of her daggers that she reveals from her wrist, and that scene kind of just kind of fell a little bit flat for me. Like I was a bit like, I'd rather know what's kind of going on with Thor. And that kind of brings me on to the whole idea of the fact that amidst this, Thor is kind of stranded on this planet where Jeff Goldblum is the Grand Master, and of course he's pitted up against Thor. Of course, we saw all that in the trailers. So the fact that they kept jumping between these two storylines, they didn't really feel like they were as one, and that kind of sort of threw me out of the movie a little bit. Like I wasn't really kind of sucked into the storyline, because it was almost like those two separate storylines were colliding as opposed to merging together. How did you kind of feel about that kind of separation between the two stories going on?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, definitely. Like, it kind of reaches like almost like a fork in the road as far as the movie goes. Like, quite literally, like Thor and Loki go one direction. She goes all the way up to Asgard and goes the other direction. And yeah, it kind of just like the movie goes as one, then splits down the middle. And then you're sort of darting back and forth between two separate things that are going on. But then, like, and that was at that point, I'd like, if I was sort of like nitpicking, because I did obviously fucking love this movie, but like, if I was, you know, being picky, like, yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of like you feel like your eyes are darting back and forth between two different scenarios. But then, like at the same time, they you know, if they didn't do that, then what were they going to do? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no,
I
understand.
At least, and then at least at the end, they managed to do that back and forth thing, but then collide both sort of like side stories almost into one big matchup at the end. So they managed to sort of like conclude it in the middle. Sort of like Thor and Hulk and the Jeff Goldblum Grandmaster part going on one side. Then you've got Carl Urban being the executioner of Hela, and she's just, you know, pretty much just shanking everybody, to be honest.
Absolutely, and, completely.
Yeah. So, but then, you know, at the end, they all collide, which is cool.
I think maybe one thing that bothered me as well is the fact that the storyline with Thor and the Grandmaster and Loki and Hulk, that was very light. That was very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque in terms of like the cinematography and the colors and all that kind of thing. Whereas you go then to Asgard, and it was, you know, the atmosphere was very kind of quiet, but almost like kind of awkwardly quiet in like a sort of a humorous way.
Eerie, like super eerie.
Totally. But it was still quite, even though she was like, you know, murdering all these people, there was almost kind of still a light-hearted tone to it in a way. And maybe what I would have preferred in a way is if the composite, like the kind of the juxtaposition was that you go to Asgard and it's, you know, fire and brimstone, and it's, you know, things being destroyed and Hela walking amidst, you know, half dead Asgardians.
I really one little piece that I really liked was when Thor is on the arena planet with like that part, and he's chatting to Tessa Thompson, the Valkyrie character, and he it's Loki, my bad, it's Loki, and he's showing her a flashback of when the Valkyrie would defend Asgard against Hela and all other threats.
Yeah,
and I just love that shot. I love the shot of all the like almost like Pegasus horses coming in.
Yeah, definitely.
And then she's at the bottom, and she's obviously like slow-mo throwing daggers and shit, and then like you just see all those horses come in. I love that little sequence. I just thought like it looked class. Yeah,
that was a beautiful scene, man, for sure. It was very, very cool. Well, speaking of scenes and sequences and such, like, you know, the bit where Thor first gets to the planet with the Grandmaster, it does have a name. I can't remember the damn name of the planet though.
It's I think it's like Skargard or something like that.
That sounds about right, actually. I don't know. Yeah. We'll call it Jeff Goldblum's crib. We'll just call it that.
Jeff Goldblum's crib. This is my arena. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is my garage with all my cars. This is my BMW with the 32 rim wheels and all that kind of spiel. Yeah. And so there's
3,000.
There's this bit where Thor is in like this chair, and it's kind of moving along, and he's being told like the history behind this planet and who the Grandmaster is. And in the background, they're playing the music, the Pure Imagination or whatever the song's called, from the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which I suppose was kind of like a mirror to the bit where they are like on that sort of boat chariot kind of thing in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which was quite a nice moment. But all these kind of scenes that are going on around him very much reminded me of that bit in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where Kurt Russell is explaining to the Guardians, you know, what his how he came to be and all that kind of spiel. And it was these very kind of
with the orgy pods.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, pretty much exactly. Yeah, and it was this very kind of bizarre sort of animation, sort of digitization. I wasn't really that bothered about it. I would have been perfectly happy with, I don't know, like suddenly Thor is in a scene with Valkyrie where she starts explaining it to him, or even, you know, Thor saying like, oh, this is what I've learned so far, this is what happened. Like I felt it was a little bit unnecessary. That would you agree with that? Disagree?
out, and that whole scene was wicked, man. Like they didn't give away all of it in the trailer. So.
Yeah, definitely. It was really interesting. Some good effects. And, I mean, Thor was getting his ass kicked, wasn't he? He really was getting a beat down, which was pretty, you know, good to see that it wasn't just, you know, basically Thor kicking his ass, and I suppose kicking the Hulk's ass, and I suppose that there was quite a poignant sort of moment in that as well, which I think they brought back towards the end of the movie, because of course Thor at this point has lost his hammer, so abilities hugely decrease because of the loss of the hammer, because of course that was his main weapon. That's what he believed essentially gave him his powers. But then of course we then realize later down the line that he carries the power with him all along. He is the god of thunder, and he can summon this power.
That's
I
right.
suppose it was important to kind of show this moment where he gets his ass kicked, he's completely helpless, he's just literally just cannot do anything without it, and then throughout the movie he then learns, actually, I can kick some serious ass.
I'm the god of thunder.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that bit, because like you just like the Hulk like thrashes him, and then Thor he's then suddenly like, and we'll like in a bit, but like later on in the movie, like Odin turns around to Thor in almost like a kind of like dream, or like some kind of like hallucination or whatever, but like he says to him, "You're not the god of hammers, are you?" And it's like, he's got a very good point. He's not the god of hammers, he's the god of thunder. And that's in that point. I love that line. He's like, you're not the god of hammers. It's like, no. Just when the Hulk's thrashing him in the ring, and then he realizes, he's like, oh shit, I just leveled up, and then he's just like, bam, and just completely fucks up the lightning.
It is literally like that, though, isn't
like when
it?
you prestige, when you prestige on Call of Duty, he's like, shit, I can throw lightning bolts now. Wicked, I'll use this.
That was it, man. Yeah, for sure. And he loses an eye as well, which they managed to hide it well in the trailers, because they showed that bit in the trailers where he's all like, got the thunder like kind of coming from his body and all that kind of stuff. But in the trailer, of course, he still had the two eyes. So they obviously did like a bit of a sneaky sort of reshoot to that in order to hide that moment.
Yeah.
Which was a really nice little touch as well. So of course we get that Thor's on this planet, and of course there's Hulk. He brings him back to being like Bruce Banner. I did like the moment as well where
I like that bit, man.
Where we got Thor trying to do like the lullaby from Age of Ultron, and Thor's just like nah, and just cleans him out.
Sounds getting real low.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so fun. He starts freaking out, and he puts like a coat over him, and then he's like, if someone was doing that to you, you'd get agitated, and he's like, sun's getting real low, big guy, sun's getting real low, and just stop saying that.
And he ends up putting on those clothes of Tony Stark's as well. So funny, man, so funny.
He's got like is it like the Duran like t-shirt on?
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I like how in that bit, that actually the only bit that kind of bugged me a little bit was when he sees, because by this point he's been the Hulk for like 2 years on a random planet, and he's got no idea. Like, well, Bruce Banner's got no idea, but when like she comes up with the the sun's getting low lullaby bit, like out in the plane, it just looks like it just looks like he should be so much bigger than that plane, because like they're both in. And he's like, whoa, man, like calm down. And like surely like the Hulk is like twice as tall as that plane. Like he's just looks like a big green marshmallow, just like thrashing about the plane. I don't know, yeah, but like that whole bit where he comes back as like Bruce Banner, and you're like, right, this is Mark Ruffalo now, wicked. And he's just got I love Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk in general, because he's just always just like, he's funny, but like in a really like what the fuck is going on? Where am I? Where have I been, man? Like all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it is cool, man. And then of course we get the introduction of Valkyrie as well. who ends up sort of joining this team. Now, one thing that they did massively in this movie, and of course, that for me, Tom Hiddleston as Loki is without a doubt one of the best characters, without a doubt the best villain period that we've had in the MCU, without a doubt. And the fact that he's been such a recurring character, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And they really kind of introduced him as more of a sort of an anti-hero, I think, throughout this movie. But I think one thing they really did was made a point to kind of humiliate him quite a lot in this film and really knock him down a few pegs, because I think that he's always been such a dominant, very kind of he's obviously very mischievous. He's the god of mischief, and he you know, he's always kind of got the upper hand and that kind of thing, and they really kind of knocked him down a few pegs in this film as well, which I think was kind of,
fucking too right.
Which I think was quite important, because they really needed to build Thor up. And the fact that we've had 2 Thor movies where I'm not a particular fan of the first 2 Thor movies at all. I don't know how you feel about them, but when the villain, I didn't
mind the first one. Like, I didn't mind the first one. I thought that was quite good, but the second one was just a pile of like garbage, man.
Yeah, so it was absolutely drivel. But the only thing that kind of held it together was Loki. And when the only kind of you know, credible thing about your film is the villain / kind of anti-hero sort of thing.
He's probably one of the first Marvel characters that isn't disposable. Yes. Like, he hasn't died, he hasn't been arrested properly. Like, he's always kind of just been like lingering there.
Yeah, completely. And it was I understand kind of what they were doing to really make Thor like come out on top of this and be really like almighty and all powerful. So that was kind of a cool thing to do. But I love as well how, you know, Loki, he always seems to be doing the good thing, but they still keep this element of his character alive where he could turn around and literally screw over anybody at any point. Like he literally like doesn't give a crap about anybody. If he sees an opportunity for something to work in his favor, he will take it, essentially.
Going back to what you were saying earlier about like, they've obviously made Thor top dog and they've given Loki a lot more room to be belittled and humiliated. Going back to what you said about him being humiliated, like the bit where they're in the lift and they're trying to escape and he's like, it just becomes this really cool like brotherly moment, and he's like, let's do get help, and he's like, I don't want to do get help, it's humiliating, and he's like, come on, it'll be fun, just like old times. He's like, go on in. And they sort of leave the lift and he's like, get help, and the guards go rushing up to him and he literally just grabs Tom Hiddleston and just fucks him into these guards and just like launches him across the room, and then he's just like, that was so humiliating, brother. That bit was so funny.
That was really, really great. That, yeah.
And also like when like going back to the arena bit as well, when like he's trying to do the lullaby, Thor's trying to do the lullaby to Hulk, and everyone's like, we've never seen this before, what's happening? And then Hulk fucking grabs Thor, and in the exact same way as in the end of Avengers 1, just smashes him into the ground, and Loki loses his shit, and he's like, yeah, now you know what it feels like. That's what it feels like. And then like looks at Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum's like, fuck you doing? He's like, sorry, sit down, man.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool moment. I like Jeff. I mean, the thing is, Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldblum. I think at the end of the day, like he if you need him to just play his classic sort of character, he will do, and he will always deliver. So I think he definitely served a purpose throughout this film. You know, I don't know kind of what I was expecting from him from the trailer, but he was amusing. I know he survived at the end. We kind of saw the post credit sequence where we see that he's still alive on the planet. Whether he'll return or not, that's obviously another question. If he didn't, though, I wouldn't be that bothered. I think he kind of, like I say, he served his purpose in this movie. If he's not in in another one, then so be it.
Did you know as well that was it Jeff Goldblum, like the Grandmaster, he's actually like, as far as the comics go, he's really like quite big, because he's part of it's like a group, or like this celestial group that have been like living for millions of years, but they're called the Elders. And the Grandmaster is actually very closely related to the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
Because if you see
really?
like if you see Jeff Goldblum's makeup, he's got like almost like a little blue strip on his chin,
Mm.
and the Collector has got a black strip on his chin, and they're both Elders. And so like there's like, I saw this thing that was like, you might actually see like the Grandmaster and the Collector like working together in Infinity War.
Oh, that's a really cool notion. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's actually a
And
really
like
good shout. Yeah.
they do like loads of different stuff. So like the Collector, he obviously like has an obsession with collecting like rare artifacts from around the galaxy. The Grandmaster, he, you know, likes watching people fight for pleasure, that sort of thing. So yeah, Jeff Goldblum could potentially have an even bigger role, like, you know, later on.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely. Well, you know, when it comes to I think when it comes to Infinity War as well, there's loads of different ways that they can kind of carry on things from Thor Ragnarok. I mean, for example, in the original Infinity War comic, the reason why Thanos is doing what he's doing is because he is in love with Lady Death, which is of course the Marvel equivalent to the Grim Reaper, and he basically thinks that he can impress her by literally raining terror upon the universe and killing huge amounts of people. So of course the fact that Hela is the god of death, we can only imagine that she's going to survive into the next movie, and that she's going to emerge as kind of being Thanos's object of affection, shall we say. So there's definitely ways that this movie can continue into Infinity War for sure.
Absolutely.
So of course we get this moment where they manage to make it back to Asgard, and of course Thor confronts Hela. I'll tell you another character we haven't spoken about, Idris Elba playing Heimdall. So like his kind of role was almost like, sorry, say again, mate.
No, I was saying Heimlich maneuver.
Oh, right. No, just Heimdall.
Heimdall.
Yeah, so his kind of role in this is that he is gathering up sort of refugees and, you know, just simple town folk, and kind of hiding them away from Hela and the Executioner, of course, played by Carl Urban, or Scourge in this case. So any kind of thoughts on Idris Elba? Do you think he had a decent enough role in this whole thing?
He was all right. I wanted to see more of him, to be honest, because he played like he's such a badass character. There were a few like sequences where you saw him like that Thor would like go into his sort of like field of vision thing and like see what he was seeing. And you know, he was obviously rounding up all of Asgard, which he did pretty fucking quickly, considering like she literally destroyed the entire army. Like pretty much rounded up an entire planet of people and just hid them in a cave. But like, I don't know. I just wanted to see a bit more of him, because he looked sick as well. Like I don't know, like he had like his whole costume design and everything. Like he looked wicked. And the bit where like you see there's someone in a hood and they climb up the side of the mountain towards the sword, which controls the dimensional portal gateway thing. And he takes sword, and like you don't see who took the sword, but I was like, yeah, that's Idris Elba, like easily. I really liked his character. I just wanted to see more of it. But maybe like even like in like the finale where they're all on the bridge, like he's trying to lead them out, but like you don't really see much of him there either, to be fair. Like,
yeah, definitely. I was kind of expecting more of a kind of a role in terms of his character, but I don't know, maybe we'll see something more in the future. I suppose there's only so much you can do when you've got all this storyline and all these characters to juggle and such like, and
kind of condense it all down as well, like make it fit. But I'd like, there was this big thing that the final Infinity Stone was his eyes, like, because his eyes
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true. Like, there's still room to be decided, but like, there was this whole thing that like, because his eyes are like almost like golden, and like he can see into like different galaxies and stuff. And stone is called like, it's called like, I don't know if it's like the Soul Stone or the something like that, but like he like everywhere. So like there was this big thing that like the final stone was going to be his eyes. So like it'd be, I mean, like it'd be pretty cool if like Thanos, like I don't know, like got if he was the last Infinity Stone, he got it out of him somehow. Like, you know.
That's a really, really rad idea. That actually, yeah, that's very, very cool. Well, speaking of which, there was that moment, wasn't there? Because, well, I suppose if we skip towards the end, of course, there's this kind of twist almost that Hela isn't in any way. She is not Ragnarok, or she does not represent Ragnarok. The idea of Ragnarok is Surtur basically just becoming this almighty demon and just destroying Asgard. So they take the helmet, or at least they send Loki to do it anyway, put it in the eternal flame, and they're the ones who cause it, essentially, which I thought was quite quite a cool idea, actually. But we see the part where Loki walks past the Tesseract, and he kind of stops, and you just and you just think, you know damn well that he's taken the Infinity Stone from the Tesseract, and he's just pocketed it. And yeah, he's definitely going to be either. I would say he's going to be working in cahoots with Thanos in the next movie, but I think it's in the original Infinity Gauntlet storyline. Doctor Doom, I think. Sorry, it's Doctor Doom who is basically kind of working with Thanos, but in the end, you realize that he's trying to steal the Infinity Gauntlet for himself. That's definitely going to be Loki in the next film, without a doubt. He's going to be such a little trickster, pretending to be all pally with him.
It's funny that like it's funny that you mentioned the Tesseract bit, because I saw that, but like my inkling from that was that he walked past it. And he sort of looked at it and just thought, sort of like because obviously he had it before, and well, he had the scepter anyway, and like he sort of like walked past it, and he's kind of like, oh, I kind of want to do something really evil and bad right now. Fuck it, I got to go help everyone else, and like just that. But like, I didn't really see it as maybe like he's looked at it and he's been like, I'm gonna pocket that sort of thing. Yeah. So, oh shit, that's cool, man.
Yeah. But it's cool though that you saw it that way, because I wouldn't have actually thought about it that way at all.
I just thought he walked past it and he was like, "Shall I just fuck shit up again and we'll make another 10 movies?" Like, you know. But it's the bit where you're like, when it gets to that part again, like, so I think the two of the most standout fucking lines in that movie to me. The one where Odin says to Thor, "You know, you're not the god of hammers, you're the god of thunder." You know, like when he says that, I love that line. But then the bit where Thor was like we weren't supposed to prevent Ragnarok, we were supposed to cause it. I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. You're going to see a big crazy fire Balrog demon. Like,
And of course, we've seen that moment in the trailer as well, hadn't we? Where Hulk is basically lunging towards him. That was a funny moment as well. Where it's like, right, we've just got to let him do what he needs to do, and then they're like, no, as Hulk is like just throwing himself.
You know what was so funny about that? Because in the trailer, it's like it looks like, because Hulk's like, he's like, Hulk like raging fire, Thor like smoldering fire. And then Thor's like, is that so? And then like you see like Hulk jump towards Surtur, and it's like, rah, like this crazy CGI thing. So like that seems like super serious in the trailer, but then in reality, like what actually happens is they've just defeated everyone. They're like, yay, let's get on this giant ship and go into space now, because Asgard's not a place, it's a people.
Yeah.
And then like Hulk just like jumps straight up to Surtur, and Thor's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. He's just like, can you just not smash for a second? And he gives it a go and then gets like beaten down, and he's like, can we go now? Like, mum's waiting, can we go? It's just like, all right.
Yeah, it was so. There was another really funny bit as well where Bruce Banner just throws himself off that ship, expecting to turn into Hulk on the way down, and he just slaps into the ground. That was a brilliant bit of slapstick. That so good.
just super crippled. I liked the big dog, the big werewolf as well. That was cool.
Oh yeah, that was proper rad actually. Yeah, forgot about that.
I can't remember what its name is, and it actually as far as like Norse mythology goes, like that's like it's obviously not real, but like that big dog's a thing. But like I don't really know much about it. I just thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, it was an awesome little touch, that for sure. Yes,
definitely.
And I suppose that kind of wraps up the movie, and then of course we got these two post-credit sequences. We got the one where they're in the ship and then they're out in space, and then all of a sudden they're just confronted by this enormous bloody mothership kind of thing. Which what are we assuming that's Thanos' ship? Do we reckon?
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then the post credit sequences after the scenes was just a bit kind of pointless, really. It was just get Jeff Goldblum climbing out of his little ship, and then he's sort of confronted by like those sort of feral natives, if you will, and that kind of sort of wraps it up, really.
When you first see those natives, or like scrapyard, ravagers, whatever they are, like. When they're going after Thor and then Valkyrie comes down, and then like I didn't even know she was going to be like had a drinking problem. Like she lands the ship and walks out, and then I love the bit where she just sort of you realize she's pissed and then just like falls off the bridge bit and they're just like, oh, what happened there? But yeah, like the Jeff Goldblum post-credit bit, that was just a bit of fun, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. For anybody.
But, the big ship, like that bit, that was like a goosebumps moment for me. Like when you just see it looming over, like you see the big shadow and then this huge ship. So you think as well, that ship must be fucking massive because they've literally loaded up an entire planet's worth of people onto that huge carry ship. And Korg's like, hey man, we're getting the hell out of there. Do you want to come? They put everyone on the ship. And then that big Thanos, I'm calling it, it's going to be a Thanos ship. That huge motherfucker comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Definitely, man, definitely. And I don't know, maybe we'll see like Loki kind of taking the front and then maybe like, revealing that he's got the Tesseract and saying like, maybe he'll have like still have a soft spot for kind of the Asgardians and say like, look, spare this lot, let me work with you, I can lead you to Earth and all that kind of spiel. So it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of develops for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. I really like what you said before, like he is a trickster and I hope he, gets a bit more time to shine in Infinity War. So
absolutely, man. Well, I think we've pretty much mentioned pretty much all the cast. We've kind of covered all the main plot points and such. Like, is there anything you kind of want to finish off with? Any sort of final thoughts on Thor Ragnarok and maybe even a rating as well?
Yeah. So overall, I love how they I love how they used Immigrant Song in that movie, man, because it just works so well. Even at the end, like where she accidentally presses the fireworks button, Valkyrie presses the fireworks button, all the fireworks go off.
Yeah.
They're on the bridge, and she's like, just like that whole segment where she's like, "I'm the goddess of death. What were you the god of again?" And then he does the whole like hammer god thunder speech. And I never expected his eye to get cut out. Never saw that coming because you didn't see it in the trailer. And she properly slashes his eye out. And then obviously he's taken after his dad, who also has one eye.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, that whole I just want to say that whole bridge bit. The camera's almost like going sideways, and it just shows him almost like a 2D game, and he's walking up the bridge. But he's just like lightning's coming down from the sky and he's just fighting them all off with his fists. But like occasionally he'll like stamp on the ground and like it was proper video game and like the lightning had come down from the sky and just like knock out multiple people around him. But that whole bit, I was just like, whoa, just like popcorn's going everywhere. But yeah, no, so like overall, yeah, the whole film I thought was fantastic. There wasn't really anything that I could sort of nitpick and be like, I didn't really like that. Like, I think the entire story flowed super well. I love the Planet Hulk references, and it was so fucking funny. It was just really funny, and it wasn't forced humor either. Like, you could genuinely laugh at it. It wasn't like a Drax thing. So yeah, no, I'd give it probably I'd probably go like a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow,
To be
big
honest with
score,
you,
big
like,
score.
yeah, I'd give it a good rating, man, because just like from start to finish, I was hooked. The only actually, if I was gonna say, because that's why we're having this conversation, after you mentioned the whole side story fork in the road going in different directions thing, that did throw me off a bit. I'll say that. Like, I didn't really enjoy like having to flick between the two, but you know, like we said, they had to do that. But like, it was kind of like, which direction am I going in now? But they do conclude it in the end. So
yeah, without a doubt. I think I don't think I'd rate it as high as you have. I would say that, I mean, the humor, you know, like I've said, landed so well. There were some great jokes, really good comedy time.
I'll go over straight 9.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, some great jokes, some really good kind of physical humor as well. Really awesome all-round performances, even though I didn't really buy the apocalyptic notion of Hela's character, which is what we were meant to believe realistically before Surtur basically came along and you realize what the real Ragnarok was. Cate Blanchett still played that character incredibly well. I think it was just the lack of kind of urgency that I kind of felt in Asgard and what was going on there. And again, like we're speaking of before, the jumping back and forth between these two stories. I mean, I wouldn't have even minded if we'd stayed with Thor consistently on this planet, and then when he got back to Asgard, he was then suddenly just like taken aback by just this wasteland and the fact that his planet had just been destroyed. And it would be almost like you would kind of share that reaction with the character, because you would also be shocked by that sort of thing. And you know, it would have been cool if maybe we hadn't necessarily seen Hela already on Asgard, but maybe her journey towards that, and she had some minions with her, or I don't know, she was potentially even with Thanos, I don't know, you know, something like that. Like, I'm just kind of riffing here, I'm just kind of pondering on different aspects. But I think with that, not the best Marvel movie, I would say the best Thor movie without a doubt. I would go, I think, because of, I think the visuals kind of pulled it back a little bit, and the music, the overall score wasn't brilliant, but I suppose the recognizable actual credited music like Led Zeppelin was really good. I'll go with a 7 out of 10 on this one, I think, because I still enjoyed it. I definitely watch it again. If someone said to me, like, because you know, a few friends of mine actually went to the cinema again to watch it, and I was actually almost about to go and watch it for a second time because I wouldn't have minded a different perspective on it.
Like the first time I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we were just like, it was good. Won't be as good as the first one, but it was good. I watched it, and I'll be honest, I watched it the second time round, and I was like, I fucking dig this movie, man. Like, it's got flaws. It's very similar to like Suicide Squad as well, because like Greg and I went and watched Suicide Squad, and everyone slagged it off so much, and we were like, okay, it's got its flaws, but like, it's, you know, there's genuine faults there, but we fucking loved it. Like, we thought it was a wicked film. We just genuinely digged it. But I like it is, you know, it's the best Thor film, definitely, hands down. Can we call it As Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, he went there. He definitely went there. Very good indeed. Well, I think with that, my man, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. It's actually 1 hour 51 we've been talking shit for now. So
nice. Is that a new record?
I think that's got to be a new record now. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, before we finish up, dude, is there anything you want to plug, like your Instagram pages, any of that kind of spiel, anything you want to say before we finish up here?
Yeah, dude. So as always, Headcase Illustrations is my Instagram account, and I put up artwork. I post up all the podcast stuff that we do as well. And I just post up like freelance comic art, illustrations, anything kind of like under the Marvel DC kind of roster. And I just like drawing designs. I actually recently finished a design for a band that play at the Fighting Cocks in Kingston.
Oh, cool.
And it's a Viking metal band called Imperium. So shout outs to Imperium. That was a really fun night because I was wearing like a full on pelt and horns, and we were all drinking Jaeger bombs. It was great. But yeah, I did some artwork for them recently. So if there's any bands out there, just get in contact with me at head_case_illustrations, and I'll be more than happy to spitball some ideas of you if you want some art done. Also, again, the All Seeing Guys podcast with Greg and Joe. Check those guys out. I've known them for yonks, and they're my best mates, and they just chat so much shite, and it's all the stuff that you think about but you don't obviously say out loud, and it's hilarious. So give them a listen, definitely.
Yeah, and also as well on the note of the All Seeing Guys, make sure you check out their radio play, Ritz Cricker and Dick Disturbance, which is absolutely fucking hilarious. But I will say, before we finish up, check us out on facebook.com/Open All Powers Podcast. We're also on Twitter @Open All Powers. We're on Instagram, open_all_powers_podcast. Listen to us on SoundCloud, listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Satchel. Head over to redbubble.com, check out our t-shirts, our mugs, our stickers. Do the same with the All Seeing Guys as well. Make sure you pick up some merch. Just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's kind of stuck with us over these past few weeks where we've been a little bit absent. Not too many episodes rolling in, but hopefully we should be back week by week, bringing you fresh new episodes. So many exciting things coming soon. We've got the Justice League movie. There's also the Disaster Artist, which is the movie about the making of The Room, which I really want to see. Have you seen any of the trailers for this, Jack?
I've seen all the Justice League stuff. They actually, I was fucking blown away by them, because didn't they release 7 minutes of Justice League footage on YouTube the other day?
Yeah,
and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like,
yeah,
why have you take it down now? I got I don't know why, but I clicked on it and I got a minute in and I was like, no, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? And closed it down. But the Disaster Artist, I haven't seen anything on that, but I'm assuming that's about when James Franco was in the movie The Room, which was rated the world's worst movie of all time.
Yeah, well, basically, James Franco isn't in the original movie. James Franco plays a guy called Tommy Wiseau, who is the creator of The Room, basically. But yeah, it's essentially how that came to be, and if you don't know much about
the director went back and the director recently was like, oh yeah, I originally intended it to be a comedy.
Oh yeah,
and everyone's like, bullshit.
Yeah, very well. That was it. Tommy Wiseau, he starred in it, he directed it, he wrote it, he produced it, he literally did everything. But it's an absolutely fascinating story. If you go on YouTube and just search the story of The Room, then it just learn about all the kind of ins and outs of this thing. And then the movie has been getting great reviews. And in fact, big up to the Nerd Podcast Mafia, obviously our network of nerdy podcasts, which we do all kinds of stuff with. Cult 45, who actually as well have just celebrated their 3-year anniversary. So huge congratulations to those guys. Yeah, and for their 3-year anniversary, they're celebrating by doing a look back, a retrospective of Batman and Robin, starring George Clooney. And now I haven't listened to the episode yet, but I cannot fucking wait to hear those guys' reaction and just get general commentary to that movie. But their first ever movie that they did was or that they reviewed and looked back at was The Room. So before you go and see the Disaster Artist, if you are going to check it out, to anybody out there, listen to Cult 45's first ever episode, because they talk about the movie from start to finish, but they also give you some of the little behind the scenes moments and tell you about some of the little factoids that are kind of associated with it. So check that out. Again, so many cool things coming up. different things dropping on Netflix. We've got The Punisher coming on Netflix. We've got all the new CW shows coming back. Jack, if you're up for it, I'd love to have you back again real soon to talk some more nerdy stuff.
Yeah, man, always. Absolutely.
Awesome, man, awesome. Well, I mean, the thing is, there's a shitload of nerdy news coming out. Like, there's a new fucking Star Wars trilogy in the making. There's a Lord of the Rings TV series. There's so much cool things that are going on that we can definitely get some discussion going about. So with that, I'm going to bring in some music. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on jabbering for hours and hours. I have been joined by the always charming, the always very welcome Wolf of Kingston, Jack Webber. Thank you so much again, dude, for joining us this week.
You're very welcome, mate. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
It's been brilliant, dude. My name is Gareth Eastwood, aka the motherfucking Locomotive, and thanks to everybody on YouTube as well who joined us. I know we had a few technical issues, a few connection blips, but hopefully you've caught most of the conversation this week. But until next week, motherfuckers, we will see you all real soon. Bye.
See you soon.
And that'll do for now.
Hey.